Good evening and welcome and Happy New Year, everybody. It's Extratyne in 2022. Happy New Year, Raza.
Happy New Year, mate. All the best. You had a good one?
Aye, it was canny. I hope everybody had a really safe and prosperous festive period. Filled yourself with pigs and blankets and all that. Raza, what did you go for? Were you turkey? Were you lamb? Were you beef? What did you go with?
It was pretty disappointing, to be honest with you, mate, because I've had COVID.
Ooh.
So I normally look forward, as you can tell, I love me bait. I normally look forward to my Christmas dinner straight away on a Boxing Day for the following year. And we did go for gammon, pork, and chicken. But to be honest, mate, I didn't eat much. So, but no, it was good. Kids enjoyed it. That's the main thing, you know. But COVID can do one for me. Like, it's horrific.
It's been horrendous. Although I'm sure some people have profited from it by getting tickets and stuff like that over the last few weeks. I certainly benefited from that today. So thank you to the poor gentleman in Langley Park who unfortunately couldn't go to the match. So I'll be going tomorrow. But Happy New Year to everybody who's joined us this evening. Hope you all had a good Christmas and a fantastic New Year. And obviously it's January, so the window has swung open. So I suppose I might as well get straight into it. Kieran Trippier, it's obviously been announced, but it's been in the offing for the last probably week or so. We've started seeing the pictures of aeroplanes appearing on Twitter and people tracking stuff, and eventually he rocked up with his Fresh Ego kid hat on and his private jet straight to Newcastle Airport and then down to the bungalow that is the training ground. So Raza, not a stunning signing that we've had in the past, as in like your Shearers or your Ferdinands, but great signing, Raza. What do you think?
No, I think it is for a couple of reasons. To be honest with you, I'm pleased he's the first one through the door. He's what you see for me, Trippier. He's Atletico. They've all had great things to say about him. Simeone didn't want to leave. Obviously understood his reasons for wanting to come back to England. When you look at him, he's not a bench warmer. He's a first. You know, he's in the first 11. So if he had stayed at Atletico, he would have been a starter. So for me, it's a good signing because he's not one of these who were plucked who doesn't get a game. You know, he's a regular. He's a good player. We've done very well in terms of how much it's costable for him, and the experience he brings. You know, he's England international. You know, he's a good dead ball specialist. He's a good defender. He's better than what we've got. So for the first signing, although he's not one of those marquee signings like you were saying, like a Shearer or something like that, I think it's a good signing because it shows, you know, we're not just going to be buying people who warm the benches of other places. You know, we're after the best, really. So no, it's a good one for me. You know, and I'm happy in listening to him. You know, he's come for all the right reasons. It'll always be thrown back to him. You know, you've come for the money. But it's a good one for Eddie Howe as well because he knows him. They've worked together before. So, no, I think it's a great signing, really. I honestly do.
Yeah. I think, like you say, it's a solid signing. And I think when Eddie Howe was interviewed and I think when Trippier was interviewed, they talked about relegation clauses and all that. And there seems to be a right approach to that with regards, well, there's not a relegation clause in there. He doesn't want people who are going to rock up. And, you know, we could very, very easily fall into the trap of just hiring a load of money at it, signing anybody who'll come to it, who maybe's got a different motive. So I think that's a really astute signing. And from what we've heard from Eddie Howe and what we've heard from Trippier, it sounds really good. I think as well, do you think he's going to be a captain without an armband, Raza?
Definitely. I think that was one of the things that got us what Eddie Howe was talking about. You know, he said not only does he bring experience on the field, he brings it off it, you know. Let's not forget, you know, he's been playing under probably one of the best managers in the world for the last few years under Simeone, you know. He knows the standards that he probably sets himself, but also a manager like Simeone sets, you know. And, of course, with the England squad as well, you know. So he'll be one of them, I think, who'll be very vocal. I mean, I think he's 31, you know, so he's not a Ben, you know, he's 31. I think that's what we need. I wouldn't be surprised if he was given the captain's armband, you know, because we lack a bit of leadership. Although Lascelles, you know, at times can shout, you know, he's a big presence. I think you've got to lead by example, really, you know, so I think he will be very vocal behind the scenes. And then, you know, let's face it, I could see him possibly having the armband and leading out at St. James's, you know.
Yeah, that would be nice to see. Now, for those of you watching us tonight, you can see you've just got myself and Raza. We've got Laura. Unfortunately, couldn't join us, but she's on a bit of a scouting mission for us. I believe around about now she should be starting a late night orienteering task. She's going for that badge, so she's already secured a knot tying badge and her a crocheting badge. So she's really going for that orienteering. So best of luck to Laura, who's hopefully she'll if she doesn't get lost. Hopefully she'll rejoin us next time after a few more signings we can chat about. Just really quickly coming back to that, the signing of Trippier and the fact that he hasn't gone with that relegation clause. Do you think that him being the first one, current England international, that might persuade players who are maybe on the fence when they've been approached by Newcastle to say, oh, well, he's in a bit of a sticky situation. But someone like Trippier, like you say, coming from Atletico Madrid, played in the Champions League last season, won the league. Do you think that would be, there's probably a better word than reassuring, but that's the word I'm going to go with. That might be for them, well, if he's gone there, is it worth me going there? Do you think that's going to be a factor for, players like...
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, these players have been linked with.
Yeah, definitely, because, I mean, let's face it, I bet you Atletico weren't short of admirers for Trippier. He's like you say, he's an England national. He's a good player, and like you say, a lot of people will look at it. I mean, don't get us wrong. Everybody wants what to feel, so everybody's hoping we'll sign loads of players for loads of money, and we'll still go down. However, looking at if you're a player and Newcastle's approached you, and you're thinking, "Oh, do I go? Do I not?" You look at somebody like Trippier, who's Champions League footballer this year, England international. You'd be looking at him thinking, well, he's went there, is what's he being sold? What's he being told? What's the project involved? So I think you'll get a few players who look at the wider picture rather than just the money. They look at the bigger picture and think, well, you look at the fan base, you look at the Premier League. I fancy a bit of that, it can only go one or two ways, we can either go down and start again, or we can stay in the Premier League and we can build on that, So a few people I think looking at Trippier will think, well, I'll give it a go. Why not? Got nothing to lose, So
just going to one of the comments there, I suppose, moving on to other possible targets. Being heavily linked with Sven Botman. Now, I know his dad used to have a pornographic magazine shop down in Sven Adult Books for those younger ones who maybe still know that one. But
it's a blast from the past.
That was a blast from the past, wasn't it? It shows where my mind is, Raza. Yeah,
get it out where my mind is.
But obviously, these players that we've been linked with, I suppose if we talk about Botman, just a comment from Geordie Toon for life there. Question for Raza and Raza: are you a bot man or an titty man? Because obviously we've been linked with Titty from Barcelona as well. So Raza, I'll let you take that one. Are you a bot man or a titty man?
I'll have to go with the titty man, to be honest with you.
He's the only one I'd heard of, to be perfectly honest with you. I'm not into me FIFA and me football manager.
Being linked with just about every player, man. Every time you pick up, whether it be social media, you pick a paper up or whatever you're looking at online, we're linked with that many players. It is what it is. I mean,
do they have football links in the Sunday Sport? Do they, Raza?
Well, they've got pictures and things like that, so it's all right. Behave yourself. But no, we're linked with everybody. And I mean, it's refreshing, isn't it? Because when you think about transfer windows in the past, it's we're normally talking about takeovers rather than transfers. And I mean, we couldn't afford a loan deal for a Leicester squad player a couple of transfer windows ago. So, it's nice, man, Who knows who we'll bring in, but I'm sure they'll be decent players.
Yeah. I think, so, well, if we look at Sven Botman, it looks like he seems like he's a bit mischievous. I don't know if you're heavily into your Instagram, and I like to send me a few happy hardcore links.
He's been liking a few pictures.
That's music, by the way. Happy hardcore music. Nothing else. I'm not back on Sven's there. And when there was an announcement about Trippier, he's actually liked a couple of the pictures.
I think he's liked the picture, hasn't he? Of himself in a black and white shirt. So
yeah, are we clutching at straws there, or seems like there's a willingness there, Raz?
Well, he's either doing it because he wants a few quid for a new deal I think he's at Lille, isn't he? So
Yeah.
he's either doing it for that reason or it's a bit of a come and get me type of thing, you know. So
yeah.
And who
Come
could
and get
blame
me, plea. Oh, those are the days.
Ah, yeah.
War chest. Come and get me, plea. What are the other catchphrases?
Couldn't get it over the line. We couldn't get it over the line.
Yeah. I suppose we are a far away from when we couldn't get Chowdhury, like you were saying, in the summer, and signing players like Shefty Kuchi and all that, which we'll come to in a minute, because I've got a little rundown of some of the January hits and misses that we've had in the past. So it looks like we're looking at this defender from Sevilla as well. Now, I've just come off Instagram there, and I was looking at Callum Wilson's post about his injury, and I think we all know that there was, it doesn't look good, but we all know that we needed a striking option, regardless of whether Callum Wilson was injured or not. Are we going to have to go for two, do you think? Because is Dwight Gale going to have to go in this window? Or, all due respect to him, he's done well for in the past in the Championship, and, he's never necessarily let us down in terms of effort and application, but are we going to need to strengthen there with two players, do you think?
I think so. Just getting on to Dwight Gale, a bit like Wilson, he hasn't got the best injury records, has he? So you kind of fault his application and his commitment. He's always done well for it. But definitely for me, I think with the injury to Wilson, I think you are looking at two strikers. You're going to need two people who are going to get you goals, because we need goals. As much as we need to stop the goals going in, we do need somebody who can score. Obviously Maxim got the goal against Man United, but a little bit not enough really this season, in terms of positions he gets in. So we do. I think we do need a couple of good goal scorers, as well as a couple of centre halves, a left back, a midfielder. We could get a whole new 11.
Are we at risk though? Obviously, players take time to bed in, changing a back four. I know you're replacing them, hopefully, with far superior players, which they should be more adaptable. And the team behind Eddie Howe have looked into these transfers, looked into the players and the qualities that they have. And adaptability will be one of those things that they'll really have to bring into consideration. So do you think they will just try and get a full new back four, or do you think they'll think, right, we've got Trippier in, we'll maybe get one other centre back, and then we've got, although he was linked with a move away, Cher, Lascelles Fernandez. Do you think there'll be either one or the other in terms of centre halves, or do you suspect that they might just go with it?
I think possibly you're right in terms of that they might only get the one centre half in. I think they might look for a left back as well. It's a risk with any signing, especially in January. People say January is not a good time to buy. Make no bones about it. We're in desperate need. We've got no option. We need to buy, and that's what you'll be looking at. You'll be looking at players who maybe's proven it at international level, sort of first team regular where they're playing at the moment. Because, like you say, it's no good bringing somebody in who needs time, somebody who's maybe spent, the first half of their season on the bench. They'll need to get match fit. They've got to get the ball rolling. The kid from Burnley, I'm not going to try and pronounce his name. He would possibly be a great centre-half signing.
Tarkowski.
That's a one, mate. Because he knows the league, so he would be somebody who would be great. He could just sort of get the ground running. But I think it's a risk with any signing you make in January. You've got to worry whether or not they'll be, up to full fitness and will it be embedded. But again, you look at Eddie Howe, he seems quite, him and his coaching team, we are setting up in games now where we've got a plan, and the players are well aware of that. And you look at some of the players he's had to work with, it's on a week-by-week basis due to injuries, suspensions and things like that. So I think they're good enough in that respect to sort of any new player coming in, let them know the role that they want them to do, the way they want them to play. So fingers crossed we'll be all right.
Yeah. Just going to the comments there, Raz, regarding the back four. I'm a big fan of Manquillo, and he did do a good job, like Freddie's saying, against Man United. So maybe that's not an area we need to necessarily strengthen. Because I'm a firm supporter of Lewis, and Manquillo can do a job. And obviously, don't forget, Trippier has played. He's played left back for England.
Left back as well, of course.
So I think centre back is definitely a priority. A minimum one, but I do think we maybe need some support. If that means sacrificing Share because he's got a year left on his contract, I think as long as we can get some quality replacements in there, then we can let those players go. And I think someone like Trippier can take a bit of the responsibility from Lascelles, and Lascelles can just concentrate on his game. Him and Botman or whoever it is, just concentrate on the game, and then Trippier can almost lead the back four without having the armband on.
Of course,
So we'll see. I think Dan says, Lewis looks like a week or two off, and he's a young lad. He'll probably get back up to speed relatively quickly. So I think in terms of strikers, I mean, like I said before, I'm not that up to date with Football Manager or FIFA or anything. So you'd be asking me, I'll probably be telling you, we should say Robert Fleck from Brentford or someone. I don't know. I'll go all the way back to Championship Manager. But I did have a look at this Iranian lad from Zenit St. Petersburg, who seems to start the season well. He's 27. And he looks like he's got a bit of pedigree. He scored a few goals in the Champions League this season, and I think he could be available fairly cheaply, 3-4 million. So we might need someone like that, and then maybe he's a bit more of a marquee player, like we've been linked with this Gabigol in. Well, that's his nickname anyway, over in Brazil. So it's nice though to have the options, to be talking about these options and not talking about a lone player from a mid-table Premier League team or an obscure team in the Turkish 4th division, which is what we've gone to quite frequently in the past, which I'll come to. Just to kind of go on a kind of a development from the transfer side of it, Raz. I don't know if you've seen Ralph Hasenhüttl. Is well and truly shown his Klopp colours. I mean, he's become. People said he was the Austrian Klopp, and I think he's proven that by being an absolute whiner. Like, what is going on? Him and Dean Smith. Obviously, I think Dean Smith's got more of a reason because obviously they're right down in there with us, whereas Southampton are a little bit further ahead of us, but they're still at risk. What did you hear? What Ralph has had to say, and what did you
I heard about it. It's ridiculous, isn't it? You know what I mean? So the way I picked it up, he wants any teams that are playing any rearranged games. They shouldn't be allowed to play any players that they sign in the window.
Yeah,
that's a load of shit. As far as I'm concerned, I mean, let's face it. You could, if you were going to play them, say 3 weeks ago, and for argument's sake, Dubravka and Lascelles were injured, do you then play them in a rearranged game? And because they were injured at the time, they're not allowed to play as well.
Yeah.
I mean, let's not forget Southampton's just been taken over, I think, by some Serbian. I mean, what happens if they go and sign 3 or 4 players? Will he be shouting for the rules to change or stay the same? Yeah. It's because the shoes on the other foot.
What about players that we sell?
Exactly. Do we get them back? You've got to come back for one game. It's ridiculous, man.
I think the idea is just. I do think that managers, and I think we've had managers like this.
Mm-hmm.
It takes the focus off any pressure on them by pushing it back on somebody else.
Of course.
By putting it on, it's Newcastle's fault, or it's But these are the rules. Dean Smith saying about they're trying to buy he didn't name us by. He didn't exactly name us,
but we knew who he was. Who it was directed to. Aye,
they're going to buy their way out of relegation or buy the way out of the drop. Well, that's what the window is there for. Like
exactly. Aye.
You divvy.
Aye.
Like just
go to dealer and complain. It's not getting any money. Aye.
So it just for me, it's just a carry on of this nonsense of.
And it is. It's
stopping us from having sponsorships, stopping us from doing this, stopping us from doing that, and they just want to. And it's weird. I can understand if it was those teams in the top, Man United, Liverpool.
Yeah.
I suppose Liverpool will have something to say about, but it's the teams that are around us who are part of this group of teams that were going to be left behind by the top 6.
When they wanted to break away to the Super League, people have got a short memory, haven't they?
All that's been forgotten. It's
it's ridiculous.
It really stinks of sour grapes. Really, really.
It's jealousy. It's as simple as that. Really I mean, if the shoe was on the other foot, they'd be going out and they'd be wanting to sign this one and that one, So let them crack on. I find it hilarious.
Yeah. I mean, David Moyes has thrown his weight behind these calls, but he's an old Mackham, so we'll not worry about him.
He'll not take his view on
just
board.
going to the comments, even into Tom, one of our regular contributors. So we could have Botman and Robin.
Like it.
There's been a few jokes. Well, mainly dad jokes by me on the WhatsApp group that have been in reference to Botman and do the Botman and Robin. So yes, I'm glad to see somebody else has a similarly crap sense of humour as I do. Vlahovic is a player who's been linked, but I think he's looking for Champions League or.
He mentioned Arsenal, hasn't he?
He mentions a project, which is, we are a project,
Right.
Just quickly before we came in, outside of Newcastle, obviously Coutinho has signed a loan deal to go to Aston Villa. Do you think we've missed out there, or do you think it was never on because he was always going to go with Villa? I mean, I can't say that I watch a lot of Spanish football, and I remember the Coutinho, who was an outstanding player for Liverpool, but he does seem to have dropped off, like a lot of those players that have gone to Barcelona. So do you think we've missed out, or do you think it was never meant to be?
I don't think it was meant to be. I think, obviously, as I said before, I think we're linked to everybody and anybody. But I don't think it was ever a goer. He went to Barcelona, and I think he went on loan to Bayern Munich, where he was doing really well at Bayern Munich, and then he come back to Barcelona. But I think obviously the Gerrard connection at Villa, he played with Gerrard at Liverpool. I think it was a no-brainer. I think he's obviously going to go there where he knows the manager. Though I think we've missed out. He would have certainly improved with, because I think he is better than what we've got. But who knows? He might go to Villa and he might rekindle the form that he had in the Premier League before he left. He's obviously been away for a few years, but I think we'll bring. It's not really the place that I think we need to strengthen in terms of attacking. I think he's very much a bit like a Miggy or a Maxim in terms of attacking and going forward. Fraser, of course, but no, I don't think we were ever really in the running for him, if I'm honest. But who knows?
Yeah. Well, good luck to him, and good luck to them. I think I agree with Dan. I think just to piss off Hassan Huttlemore, I think we should go in with an absolutely epic bid for James Ward-Prowse and just really push it. A lot of agreement on the Hassan Huttle thing. I wouldn't expect anything more, really, because it is ridiculous. Re-signing, re-injured, re-suspend.
Yeah, Freddie's just summed it up there in the comments. It's, ridiculous.
It's the stuff of Jack and Ori fantasy stuff, but we are where we are, unfortunately. But I think, we should be looking. Do you reckon another 2 or 3, maybe 4 players signed in?
Yeah, I think 4 of them, like in a minimum. The squad has been neglected, and let's make no bones about it. We are where we are. Fantastic performance against Man United. If you had asked us before the game what I took the draw, I would have snapped your hand off. But at full time, I was devastated because we deserved to win. We were outstanding. But we need points on the board, and the team we've got at the minute just isn't good enough. So I think another 4 minimum. Hopefully in the right positions, they'll do enough to keep up. And then we can build in the summer. We can have a look. We can clear out the dead wood and crack on.
What do you think about the rumours of Ramsey?
I would have him.
Yeah.
I look at him. You look at him at his performances for Wales, and he was outstanding. Was it Russia where they had the great run?
Yeah.
Him and Bale were outstanding. He sort of fell off the boil a bit at Juve, but again at Arsenal, he was good. And what I'm basing it on is, I look at Ramsey and I say, right, is he better than the midfielders we've got? And the simple answer is he is. So I would take him. I would take, even if it was, just on loan to the end of the season with an option to buy. Because let's face it, I think have Wales not got qualifying games coming up as well?
Yeah, they've got qualifiers, and obviously the World Cup's coming up. So if they qualify for that, he wants to be fit for it. I think he's had a little bit of a tricky time with injuries, settling in. So
and again, he's a player who knows the Premier League. So
I suppose
I would take the punt on him if I'm honest with you. I would.
Yeah, I'm undecided about him because I think he's a centre midfielder. I suppose he is better than what we have, but he's 31. He's been playing in a he hasn't really played consistently for the last couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
Is he a bit more of a risk? I suppose
Yeah,
if the loan works in our favour, then maybe he's. But
yeah,
I would be looking for a fitter, stronger box-to-box midfielder like Aaron Ramsey was probably 7 years ago. But it sounds ridiculous. We're turning our nose up at Aaron Ramsey, who's, he was a star for Arsenal. He's an international footballer, but it just shows how far our goalposts have changed.
Well, they have, but I'm still trying to be a bit realistic. So, and I think, let's remember he scores goals as well. So, we're desperate for goals, So, I certainly would take the punt, and given, the standard that he's played at, again, a bit like a Trippier coming in, he'll have standards, like that he's picked up at Juve and, that he's got from Arsenal, and players will look at that if he was to come in, like the players we've got now, and they would see that, and, that will give them, like, Shelby's, their game would up again because they'd be thinking, well, I didn't want him to take me place. So, it's competition for places. So, I would certainly give him a punt if we could, But
I think a couple of people agree. Ramsey 100% take him, right sort of character. And we need to go
top
big.
Man low, if I agree with you.
Oh, that's a crack. And we need to go big, try and sign a first choice striker. Interesting one from Creative Control here. NUFC look like another Portsmouth to me. So context would be good if, I can't dismiss it straight away, but I suppose we are on a coast. We do have a history with ships. Are we another Portsmouth? Who knows? I'm not sure Portsmouth ever had Saudi owners. They've had several owners, but thank you, Creative Control, for your contribution. Tom, he's in two minds about Ramsey as well. Ramsey did well at the Euros.
Yeah.
Another one that we've been linked with. I mean, we could probably do a whole show on who we've been linked with because the list is endless. But Origi, I saw like you could get him at a cut price. I don't know whether maybe his contract's up the end of the season. Yes, you might not. They might not want to sell him at this present moment. But would you take Origi? Would that be a player that you think?
Well, he's a goal scorer. And he scored some big goals, in big games. Would Liverpool let him go? I don't think they would. I think the comment there by, I forget who it was, but the comment, obviously Salah and Mane, they off at the African Cup of Nations. So I don't think Liverpool would sell him at the minute. But he's certainly a player I would have because, you look at it and he scored goals in some big games and in the Premier League. So I would definitely have him. But will we get him? I don't think we would, if I'm honest with you. Yeah,
I think it'll be tricky. I just saw just before we came on there that there's a COVID outbreak in the Egyptian side.
It's going to happen, I mean, you look at it in the Premier League, it's rife. Well, it's not as rife as it was, but it's happening in the Premier League. And again, you're going to get it in the African Cup of Nations. You're going to, I mean, the Six Nations rugby starts, I think, February. There's going to be COVID outbreaks there. You're going to get it wherever you get large groups of 30, 40, 50 people together. There's going to be one of them that catches it. It's going to happen. It's inevitable.
How many back rows need to be struck down before you get the call up, Raz?
It would have to be a canny few, mate. My playing days are long gone. I'm knackered. I'm ready for the scrap heap.
Come back for a Vets game. Game. This is an interesting one. A high bid for Calvert-Lewin. Maybe throw Sean Longstaff in there.
Why not?
Why not?
I mean, at the minute, Everton on a bit of turmoil, and I've seen Rafa today with regards to the fullback. Is it Dainey, whatever the fullback?
Look at Dean.
I mean, he's Rafa's fell out with him, and as we all know, you look at something similar with Jack Colback up here. If he falls out with you, that's you're done. And
you're done,
I think the Monkeys Heed had a few things to say about them not getting the game, and Rafa's shot him down as well. So the thing is, at Everton, they're not getting the results that they wanted, and a lot of fans at the start of the season didn't want Rafa because of obviously his Liverpool links. So you've got half of them wanting him, and the other half not wanting him. And you look at their team, and it's a bit weird, I mean, obviously he signed Rondon, he signed Townsend. He likes these players. He likes signing players who he knows are robots and going to do a job for him. who knows? You know, if you went in and offered a bid for that, I mean, Everton have spent some serious money over the years. You know,
we've got to be careful. I think, haven't we? Like that, we don't. I've got a feeling that we won't, but that we don't follow that path. That
I don't think we will.
Path well trodden by certain teams,
I think the problem with Everton is that they've had too many different managers and kind of just said, look, here's a blank checkbook and can do what you want. You know. Now I think that you know they need to keep that money to build a new stadium or something like that. So like Loaf said there, why not go in and offer a cheeky bid for Calvert-Lewin? I mean, he's had a few injuries. He hasn't been starting. Until you put a bid in or ask a question, you're never going to know. But certainly somebody like a Calvert-Lewin, I would really fancy him. I think he'd be a good player.
Yeah, I think when it was the eve of the transfer window, as Freddie was going on about there, Cody was very much linked. I think he had some good things to say about Newcastle, and he would be like Tarkowski. Although I wasn't necessarily blown away by Tarkowski when we played Burnley, I didn't see him as any better or worse than what we had already. Yeah. Whereas I would think that Cody would be an upgrade on the players that we have because he's so vocal. You can you can hear him on the telly when even when there's fans in the stadium, you hear him. So I think he would be I'd be really excited. Not excited, but I'd be really impressed if we pushed him and got him. I think that would solve a really big problem that we have in defence going forward. Kind of covered the transfers and what could or could not be happening. And I'm sure while we've been on air now, I'm sure there's been several other players linked forward, which is good to hear, but it gives us plenty to talk about going forward. And let's not forget there is a game tomorrow.
Yes.
And actually, I need your advice, Raza, because I'm taking the band to our first ever game of football. And I know you've had this experience with your little one. Can you offer me any pearls of wisdom, or rather, other than don't do it? Can you offer me any? She's 5.
Yep.
She's a bit into her dancing and I've tried to get her in the football and she's kind of resisting a little bit. So can you give us any hints about getting her there and keeping her there? If I can get to half time, I think that's an achievement. What can you help us out with?
Well, get your swearing out before you go to the game, because lo and behold, she'll come in straight away, and the first thing she'll tell her mother is, "My father was swearing at the match." So, take her to a bar and give her as much pop as you can, so she gets quite hyperactive. She'll get excited, and basically, mate, just make sure you get her a program because they'll sit and read the program before you know it's half time.
That is a great tip.
If there's plenty of goals, she'll be entertained. It's her first game. I mean, luckily it's a sellout, so the atmosphere will be quite good tomorrow. So I can imagine she'll be out of the moon with the atmosphere and stuff like that. But I get her a program that keeps them entertained for a bit. Yeah, and just promise her if she stays till the end. On the way back, you'll take her to the club shop and you'll buy her something. That worked for me first time round. Right. But just make sure you let them know to the one and only chance that they do get to go into the club shop. It's not happening every other game that they go to.
I think I'm gonna. I'm worried. Obviously, I think you took yours when it was pre-season, so it was a bit warmer. I'm a little bit worried about the temperature because she doesn't react well in the cold. So I've got
just wrap her up, man. Give her a scarf and a hat and a coat. She'll be all right.
Black and white earmuffs. Thank you, Geordie Toon, for life. And definitely, I'm going to try and get her amongst the flags. I think I'm in the Gallowgate, so that's good. But yeah, so I've already identified. I'm going to get some of them little hand warmers. Them little ones you snap and you.
Just give her some gloves, man. Tell her to clap. What do you need hand warmers for? Just tell her to clap and keep her gloves on. She'll be all right.
You've met my daughter.
I know.
She'll not just be wanting gloves. She'll be
you need to put your foot down. Just say it to her. Just get your gloves on and shoot and ball. Tell her where the Cambridge fans are and just tell her to give them a bit of abuse or something like that.
Yes, there you go. Should be coming home doing this.
Giving it all that,
No, I mean,
get a phone call on Monday from the teacher at school.
From what it sounds like from what the traffic on Twitter I've seen and various WhatsApp groups, it looks like it's going to be quite a family atmosphere. There's a lot of parents taking their kids. I mean, in the tickets, although give Ashley a little bit of credit, they did have fairly cheap tickets for cup games and stuff, but a tenner for a grown-up and a fiver for a bairn is spot on. So no wonder the stadium's going to be full, and Cambridge are bringing 6,000 fans, which is absolutely fantastic effort on their part as well. Because I don't think it's the easiest. I don't think it's the easiest place to get from and to. It's a bit like Norwich, I think.
And given it's January, just after Christmas as well, fair
exactly.
Crack to them,
so fair play to them. Fair play to them. So, just touching on the Cambridge game, I think in years past, I think we would have possibly, given that it's January, given that we've signed players, that we would have looked past this game. Do you think that's going to be the case with Eddie Howe? Do you think there's going to be a loss of focus? Do you think there's going to be big changes in the team? What sort of team do you think we're looking at?
I think obviously you'll have one mind on the league in terms of the next game coming up. But I think he'll use it very much as I want to see a training game, but not like they'll not take it easy. I think they'll set up with a plan again. And it'll be sort of along the similar lines of what we've done sort of since Eddie Howe's took over. I think he will put a few different faces in. I think they'll probably get the likes of a Hendrick in midfield, maybe Shelby on the bench type of thing.
I'll be interested to see what type of player, Jeff Hendrick, much maligned, I think it's fair to say. Joe Linton was much maligned, and
like I've said, you've got to. I think you've got to judge any player under Eddie Howe now, not under Bruce. I mean, you look at that terminology that the players were Bruced, and it's been proven right with somebody like a Joe Linton. It's took Eddie Howe to come in, put an arm around him. So it'd be interesting to see what team he puts out. I would imagine if Darlow's fit or Gillespie might get a start tomorrow in goal. But I think it'll be a mixture of sort of people, what I would say first team as regulars, and like a mixture of say some of the kids who've been on the bench in recent weeks. They'll probably get a go.
Elliot Anderson and Joe White.
Elliot Anderson, prime example. I think he played against Arsenal, was it last season, in a cup game, and he didn't do himself, any harm at all. So you'll probably get a mixture of players like that tomorrow. And I think Eddie Howe will possibly want to crack on in the cup. As much as the league is my main priority, the cup's a little bit of a distraction from the league and look, let's face it, if we win, you've got that winning mentality. You can carry that on. You've got the momentum, So I don't think it'll be sort of an exhibition game tomorrow, but I think he'll carry on what we've been doing, but he'll mix a few young ones in with a few good, first team, I shall say.
Yeah, I've got a feeling he might start one of. I don't think he would start two of them. I think he'd go with one of either Joe White or Elliot, and I think Elliot's probably the easier one to start because he's had experience before, and I think with us just playing that one up front generally. I think it's a lot to expect a Joe White against two League One centre backs who are going to be able to happily bully him. So I think probably Dwight Gale. I mean, it would be the perfect game for Andy Carroll if he was still with us, because he could just go up against any centre backs of that nature.
But like you say, it'll be a great game for Dwight Gale to get a run out. These players who've been on the bench and haven't had a run out, it'll be a fantastic opportunity for them to get a bit of game time. Yeah.
Just on a sustainability across the league, do you agree with Jody about giving them the gate receipts and help? I think it'd be a good gesture. I think.
Yeah, why not? Certainly from a publicity point of view for our club as well. We're now in a position where we don't. Thankfully, we don't need the money. But teams like Cambridge's,
we're getting hammered
a hell of a way for them. No, it would be a great PR gesture. And we've done it in the past. I think we've done it with when we used to get drawn in, the FA Cups. I think we got Stevenage away, and it was switched around a bit. St James's week and the gate receipts, and if it can help these clubs and be, allow them to be sustainable for a few there, then why not? We need more of that from the Premier League all the way down the leagues. We need the money to be going down to grassroots football as well.
Definitely,
so it's more sustainable.
Definitely. Hopefully, I agree with Paul about this.
I agree with Loaf on that one,
Not just going up with who's he called? Loaf?
That's me mate Loaf. I can't call him Loaf.
Is there a story behind that? Did he want to steal some bread off you?
No. It's just his nickname. I've always had one of them, old wise man. Trying to get him to come on here, but he's camera shy.
Is he camera shy? Oh.
But he's got a great knowledge of Newcastle United. So
well, there we go, Love. Get yourself involved, man. Shane, give them the gate receipts and Jeff Hendrick.
I mean, I don't think they've done anything bad to deserve Hendrick, but I mean,
well, it could be Hendrick 2.0. He's had a lot of health coaching, so you never know. I definitely think we'll see an improvement in him, but I don't think there should be that many drastic changes to the side. Obviously, there's ones that are in force, like Wilson and St. Maximin, but it's an opportunity to build some momentum. I think a 2-0, a 3-0. Hopefully, we just get through. And then we can roll into that Watford game. I think that Watford game, obviously, understatement, it's a massive game.
Yeah.
Could we be looking at Ranieri's last game in charge of Watford? Could they,
possibly.
He's not on a good run.
Their best player got, he's away at the African Cup of Nations,
yes,
because
away,
they were trying to say he was injured, and then he's had to go in there to be assessed, and they've said he's fit, so why not? Give them a go,
But I wonder if... I wonder if it does. I don't know. Yeah, we'll see. Mm-hmm. There are a few people are behind the idea of Cambridge getting the money. Talking about some marquee signings to show the Saudi nation who's the highest profile available player. I think we'd have to hit a compromise between that and who would actually come and sign for. I don't think Haaland's going to wing his way down to Newcastle when we're second bottom of the league, but. Who knows? So I reckon we'll get it. I'm going to just go a very conservative 2-0 victory. What would you go with on the Cambridge game? Will he be finding it on a legal stream, Raza, do you think?
I would never do anything like that. I'll possibly watch it somewhere. I'm going to go 3-1, mate. I think we'll beat them 3-1.
Yeah.
Aye.
Just as a bit of a side, actually, I don't know if you saw. Did you see the podcast with Hayden in?
No, I didn't see that.
Oh, you'll have to watch it. It's a really good watch. I can't for the life of us remember the name of the show. It was a really interesting. It's interesting that we're getting more and more current players going on different platforms. But Hayden was interviewed by these two lads from this podcast, and it was a really interesting look at how he was very diplomatic around Steve Bruce, I think, because he has a bit of a relationship with Steve Bruce because he had him at Hull. And
of course, I mean, that's the reason he stayed, let's face it. He wanted away under Rafa, and then Bruce come in and he stayed. So,
but an interesting thing, which is interesting, but obviously I think we already knew, was they asked him about the differences value-wise between Steve Bruce and Eddie Howe, and he mentioned that Steve Bruce would get a little bit, I can't remember the exact phrase that he used, but he would get a little bit obsessed or a little bit caught up in the opposition and what they could do to us and how we could stop that.
I think that was visible when you used to get the press conferences from Bruce, because he used to start off and used to say, we're playing a very good team. And when you listen to these press conferences, you'd sit there and you'd think, I hope this isn't what you're telling the players, because you're beaten already, and it's almost the defeatist attitude straight away,
Yeah.
Don't worry about what other teams can do to you.
Yeah.
Worry about what what you're going to do to them and stuff like that, So I quite understand that from Bruce,
Yeah, so it's that one, the Beautiful Game podcast. So it's worth it.
I'll have to give it a listen.
It's about an hour long. It's, it's really, really informative. And he gives us, and it tells a little bit about his personal life as well. He's studying at university and all.
I was going to say, actually, on the back of Hayden, a mate of mine, he had a family member who had MS, and he basically tweeted Hayden and just said, "Look, can you do a retweet? We're doing. I think they were doing a walk or a run or something like that." And not only did he retweet it, but he actually donated £1,000 as well, which I thought was a great gesture. He wasn't asked to do that; he just asked to retweet it. And little things like that you don't hear about that.
He comes across as a sound lad, and Stu's just reminded us he did talk about the differences between being somewhere else and being in Newcastle. He said people in Newcastle aren't bothered about Louis Vuitton. Because that's him about his fashion. Once they finished talking about the football side, they asked him a few other personal bits and bobs, and that's him about his. He says, you know what? Nobody's really bothered about that up here. They're not bothered if you're wearing Louis Vuitton or you're wearing this or you're wearing that. So that was
Geordie
really
jeans.
nice.
Get your Geordie jeans
Get
on.
your Geordie jeans on. And
Aye.
I think you've probably listened to the Callum Wilson and Mikel Antonio one. That's really interesting as well. But obviously, like and subscribe. Gallowgateshots first. He's on that side. You get me and Raza, so you know. So I know it's weird, isn't it? I was adjusting.
It is. I was like, what way is he? Aye.
What's going on? So really interesting. So that's definitely worth checking out. So, just before we finish, January transfer window. I've kind of compiled a little bit of a list of hits and misses. Do you know, Raza, by the way, what year the January transfer or the transfer window was introduced in the UK, like into the British leagues? What year? Would you like to hazard a guess?
I'm gonna have a stab at 2006.
Ooh, close. It was 2002, 2003 season.
All right.
Yes. So, I've made a nice little list of players that we've had. So, some of the successes that we had, that first window was Jonathan Woodgate. He was signed
from Leeds. Obviously
injury prone, but what a centre half. I mean, those people who are probably younger than
the best centre half I've seen in a black and white shirt, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Frank Wangstein, I think that's his real name. He said it was 2022 when the transfer window started. But if there was going to be like a curve on our transfer activity, there's now and then there's, So, we've signed players like Michael Bridges in there.
Yep.
We went through a bit of a spree in 2004, 4-5 season. We got Boom Song.
Oh, Christ, aye. That needed looking into. Yeah,
Andy Fye. And,
is that when Souness signed Boom Song from Rangers? Was he not on the board of directors at Rangers as well? We'll not say anything about that.
Allegedly. And Celestine Babayaro. Those are the three solid players that were bought. And then really, we bought Nobby back the season after that.
Yes,
6 and 7, 06, 07, we bought in the Gucci on Inero. It was like
he went on to play with AC Milan, didn't he?
He was proper massive though.
He was huge,
I'm like, oh my word, this is as a centre half, but unfortunately he was terrible. Yeah, he was a terrible footballer. 2008 and 9, the season we got relegated. If you remember that January, we bought Nolan, Taylor, Lovenkrands and Vukic, but so 3 of those decent signings. We didn't keep in the Premier League, but actually with a driving force a lot of the time.
To bring back up high. Right.
Good pros, and obviously Ryan Taylor, a friend of the podcast. He's going to be part of the Gallowgateshots network, doing a monthly show called Over the Wall with Chris or one of the other lads. So
good on him.
Definitely worth checking out. I think that might just be for subscribers and things like that. So there are subscription options, so please check those out. Go on the Gallowgateshots website. Go on the go on the Twitter. Go on the YouTube and see if you can get involved in that, because we've got some really good content coming from those places. The season we're in the Championship, Raza. Leon Best.
Yes.
Routledge.
Oh yes, right.
Mike Williamson, Big Mike. He's doing great for Gateshead.
Brilliant at the Heat. He's doing really well.
Second top of the league. Obviously, I haven't included all of them because some of them, like Shane Ferguson and other players, like in different parts. Danny Simpson, I think we already had him on loan, and then we signed him permanently.
And then we've got him permanent. That's right.
And then Fitz Hall, one size.
One size fits all, eh? Aye.
Best nickname in football. I don't think there's anyone could beat that. And Patrick van Arnholt, who I really wish we kept hold of him because he was a good prospect. Then after that. Well, we had Ben Arthur, a bit like with Simpson. We had Ben Arthur and we signed him in the January permanent. Stephen Ireland and Shefty Kuchi. That was when Carroll went off and signed for Liverpool, and we ended up with Kuchi. Following season, though, this is the type of player we need in this moment. Cisse.
That's Cisse, yeah.
When he went on that absolutely ridiculous run.
Everything he hit went in the back of the net, didn't it? Unbelievable.
Incredible. Where do you stand on Cisse? Like, what what's your?
What in terms of how do I rate him?
Like, how do you rate him? When you think back, and
I mean, he's up there. Is probably Well, I would say he's probably one of the best strikers we've had. I know we only had him for a short time. The goals he scored were just outrageous. I mean, like obviously the main ones I think is the one at Chelsea when he's pretty much on the touchline and he hits it in, But I remember him scoring a belter against Villa. Every one of these goals seemed to be absolute pearlers, to be honest with you. So
that one against Swansea where he was fading away and
it's unreal. So I mean, in terms of how do I rate him? I think he was a fantastic player, and it's a shame we couldn't. I mean, him and Demba Ba together were brilliant.
Amazing,
and then
amazing double Demba.
They just sort of went off the boil, But no, he's got to be remembered as one of the best goal scorers for me. He scored some fantastic goals.
Ooh, interesting opinion. Cisse the best centre forward since Shearer.
I
would say Demba Ba for me was better than Cisse. As an all-round footballer, I think Demba Ba was an excellent footballer.
No, I've got to agree with that. I think Cisse was better than Demba Ba in terms of goals, like for me anyway.
Yeah, but I suppose for me, Cisse was one of these players that was classically Pardewed.
100%.
When Ba left, we didn't replace Ba, and then he all of a sudden became a target man.
Yeah, and he was never a target man, you know what I mean? He used to play off the target man. That's how he used to feed on the scrap to get some belter goals,
Yeah. And some of the stuff, I mean, him and Cabaye, I remember there was a goal against Stoke where Cabaye played this beautiful, beautiful pass, and he just knew where the ball was going to go. I mean, he was perennial offside, but
all the time. But we'd let him off because he would always get you a goal. That's the thing, though. You can allow players that if they're gonna score. The difference will be he's always offside and he doesn't get a goal.
When you play on the shoulder, it's going to happen, isn't it? I mean, now with VAR, you probably have even more offsides. So he probably played at the right time for it. So that was probably a success. And then, if you remember, the next season, this is when we really struggled, and they went out and splurged millions on Yangambiwa, Debussy.
Oh yes,
probably one of our best fullbacks that we've had in a long time. Probably surpassed by Trippier, hopefully. Haidara, who I rate really highly, but real big.
Never the same after that injury at Wigan, was he? He never sort of come back from that.
A very divisive player, Musa Sissoko, came in like an absolute barnstormer and left like a
absolutely
twig.
He trolled Ashley Cole against Chelsea, didn't he? It was amazing. And then what happened? You know what I mean? Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So
I think a lot of that can be put down to some of the coaching that was done, I think, at the time.
100%. You've got to look at it. And I think a bit of it, they've got to take responsibility themselves, their attitude. If you to sort of believe what was happening at the time, there was a massive click in the camp at that time. And Sissoko was a bit of a bad egg. You've seen it on the documentary with Tottenham. He's very, and I think Jose, when he was told that he was one of the main instigators in the dressing room, Jose's response was, "Oh fuck!"
So, I think coming back to that thing about a clique, actually, signing in 2013. In 2013, signing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players, all French speaking. We've got to.
They're going to stick together, aren't they?
We have to be careful.
You've got to be careful in that respect. You've got to try and integrate everybody and make sure there's no clicks. You know what I mean?
But I have faith in Eddie Howe and the way he's doing. From what we heard from, obviously, Dan Gosling on this show, and then from Hayden, he wants to integrate players, and the way he's gone with these relegation clauses. So I think he can spot and root out any sort of things. Or he probably just wouldn't let it in.
I don't think he would. He wouldn't sign them. So simple as that.
And then 13, 14, Raza, a player who's gone on to then play for Sevilla, played at a high level for, I think he went Ajax. Luke de Jong, again, who were played as a midfielder.
It was shite, absolute garbage. And then you look at what he's doing at other clubs, and you think, is that the same player we had? So
14, 15, we didn't really do much, and then 15, 16, the relegation season under Steve McClown. McClown. We had John Joe Shelby, Townsend, Xavier, and Doumbia.
Oh, bloody hell, I remember
he came in with a big reputation and left with...
He's about 74 now, wasn't he, when you look at his picture?
He was. Had a tough paper around that lad.
He did. He had the rocket when the lifts were off.
So, would you say John Joe Shelby was a success there, given he's still here and he's Or
Not
would you
really.
say
No,
yeah.
I don't think he's frustrating for me. I think I've said it before on this program. He's frustrating. He's got bags of talent, passing range. We're starting to see him having more shots now, which I think is good. But he's frustrating because he's not a Ben anymore. You know, he's like
no, he's not.
He's had this potential for so many years, and it's frustrating when you see him. You know, like when he puts in a cracking performance, you think he's a bloody hell of a player, him. You know, and then he'll go missing the next game and. At times, I mean, you look at his against Tottenham this season. You know, come on, he got a daft booking kicking out in the corner flag, and then he got a second booking. You know, so has he been a success? Not for me, but I hope he proves. I hope he proves us wrong.
I mean, his time's running out. Simple as that,
it is. It definitely is, and I think like a few players, that time is running out at the club because. You know, gone are the days where we just resign players because we can't sign anybody else. You know, we're in a position now where we'll not be doing that. And if you're not good enough, you'll be showing the door. And I'd like to see Shelby do well because, like I say, I do think he's got the player in him. I think he's got all the attributes. And hopefully Eddie Howe will sort him out as well. Fingers crossed. Yeah.
Then more recent history, Soleimani in 17-18. Very underwhelming. Came with a big reputation. Very underwhelming. His career's kind of drifted off. Martin Dubravka, of course, he signed in the January transfer window. Debut against Man United, where he was absolutely ridiculously outstanding. Kennedy, who lulled in.
He's a funny one.
He was a great one on loan. And then
he had a great loan period, didn't he? Because he had a point to prove, and then didn't he come back? And he was absolutely shite.
I think I can safely say that broke Laura's heart because she had a real soft spot for him. And then when he came back, he was never the same player, was he?
Never had a point to prove, did he? I think he was trying to get in the World Cup squad when he come to us. You know,
he missed that penalty at Cardiff. And it was downhill after that. I think Freddie knows. Can he miss now? I think it was downhill after that. And then 18-19, Miggy.
Yeah,
he was a January transfer, and then Bareka, who played like half a game, I think, for we. More recently under Steve Bruce, we had Danny Rose, who's now been
he's just been kicked out of Watford, hasn't he?
Kicked out of Watford. I mean, he was already looking like he'd been to a few chip shops.
He's looking like he lived with me during lockdown.
With that beef dripping on your chips and that.
He followed the Razza diet. On my chips, it's in the bath. Get a bit of bobble on you, guys.
Are you getting a skin on it? Are you?
On what?
You getting?
Hey, keep it clean, son. Keep it clean.
And now, we've been skin on my head dripping. Lazaro, I think,
another player who come with a big reputation and just didn't do anything, you know.
Yeah, he scored that one great goal, I think, against Bournemouth. But I think. Bit of a failure, and Ben Taleb as well, very underwhelming. I think he made his debut against. I was at the Oxford game in the Milburn stand. He came on, he kept the ball well, and that was about it. Really,
never showed anything else.
Sideways and backwards, and that was about it. And then, of course, probably up there with Cisse in terms of success in the short term was Joe Willock last season. And it turned out to be an absolutely excellent acquisition.
I mean, he kept up, didn't he? Let's be honest. You know, his goals kept up.
Difficult.
I think he's possibly carrying a knock this season. He's never sort of rekindled the same form, but I think there's a player there. I mean, you know, you look at it and you look at what he done last season towards the end of the season. I think I said it on this program a couple of weeks ago. He come from Arsenal, and you know, he sort of had the Arsenal preparation, and he come on loan to us, and he was head and shoulders above most of us because he'd been coached under Bruce, you know, and the preparation was under Bruce. And you look at him; he was signed this season, and he's had the Bruce pre-season in a way, you know. So he's possibly catching up a little bit of fitness and that now. But he's a talent. That's not, you know. Arsenal haven't got many crap players, and some people will argue, well, Arsenal don't let many players go. But given the size of squads, you know, there's not room for everybody. But I think Willock's a decent turn. I think he'll come good under Eddie Howe, you know, so not too worried about him.
Yeah, I think we kind of just mentioned it quickly, but Almiron was a January transfer.
And I just said that
took us a while, and And Dave thinks that Laura needs to come back to keep us in check. I think maybe it's been a bit too blue for Dave. But it is
Dave.
It is a Friday night, Dave. But
it's a Friday night. It's at 9 o'clock.
We'll take that under advisement, and I'll make sure that we get Laura back from her orienteering out in Keswick, I believe she is. You know, she's a big one for the outdoors. So, you know, hopefully she should be approaching the barn now where she's staying overnight. So all she's got to do now is put up a tent and make a fire. So, and then she's got them badges. So good luck, Laura. I think with Willock, just to touch on Willock really quickly, better players around him. I do think that when Willock came, he just made that instant impact, hit the ground running. I think now Willock's he looks like he's regressed, but I don't know. I've just got a feeling that because of the different coaching that's going on, he's developing different parts of his game.
I agree, and I think with better players coming in, they will improve him. You know, because I do think there's a player in there. I think he's
definitely good. Yeah, I agree with you there. So that was a whistle-stop tour, Raza, through our January transfer. Obviously, there's been plenty outs during that time. Andy Carroll was obviously the big one. But I think we've had a bit of a mixed January, but hopefully this time, you know, if we get that...
Times are changing. The revolution is happening.
Yes, it will be televised. It will be televised. Hopefully, if we can bring those 5-6 players in over the short term. But I think we can carry... I think in the past, if we brought that many players in, like you're talking, it's a big adjustment. But for the squad is so bereft of quality.
That's it. And I think I think these players are going to come in and improve with. I don't think it is a case of carrying players. I think Eddie Howe's got the know-how, and I think, you see what I've done there. So I think he knows what players he wants, and like I say, I think he's very clever in getting players to work the way he wants the players to work. That helicopter that's just flew our gate, it's just a police one, mate. So no, I've got any qualms about the players coming in. I think we'd be all right, and but I'm desperate for the toilet now, so come and wrap up.
Good times ahead, and I think on that bombshell, I think we'll leave it there with Raza. Thanks to all those people who've joined us this evening. Remember to like,
everybody.
Subscribe, join the channel for the extra content. Check out Shade, our American friend who's still in the UK. He goes back, I think, on Monday. He'll be at the game tomorrow. So if you see him, give him a big cuddle.
Give him a shout out.
He's got a right cuddle on him. Honestly, I've never cuddled him. Like, he was like, yeah, man. I was like, whoa. I was like, I was mint. So he's done his My United video. So that'll be really interesting to see his point of view on that. I mentioned the Ryan Taylor show. That'll be on a monthly basis, I think. And then we've got the United States when Shade does get back to the States. So like and subscribe. Follow all those things on the socials as well. Give me a follow and a wave and a like and all that. And Raza as well. Raza's going to get a bit more active on Twitter, he tells us.
No, I'm not.
No,
but I'll try my best. But no, cheers for having us again, Rog.
No,
much appreciated.
Thanks for joining us, Raza. Thank you to everybody for joining us. Whether you're sitting in the bath on the bog, watching us live, or you're watching it back. Hopefully, good times ahead. So, thanks very much for joining us. Hopefully, good result tomorrow. So,
lads.
Be really safe. Look after yourselves. Look after each other, and we'll see you very, very soon.